All right, welcome to another VirginiaPreps.com Zoomcast. We've done a number of these with coaches, athletes, you name it. And we've got one who's a former coach, but he's still coaching in a different sense. Matt Hatfield here, the publisher of VirginiaPreps.com, and we're joined by the former head boys basketball coach of the Great Bridge Wildcats in Chesapeake. He stepped down in October of 2017 to spend more time with family and also focus on himself and his health and his wellness. And we'll dive into that with him. But after 30 years involved with the Wildcats of Great Bridge, at 18 of them at the helm, he led them to 8 regional playoff appearances, 4 Southeastern District championships, and that infamous 2013 Eastern Region Championship run led by Marcus Evans. He coached Evans, Briante Weber, who started at VCU, also made it to the NBA, and Taj Owens, a few of his 1,000-point scores. And he also did some assistant football coaching as well. He's got some athletes in his family I'm sure he'll chime in about as well. One of which played baseball at the college level. And Gary Obenour is so kind to join us. And you look well, my friend. From when you were on the sidelines to now, what's the high water mark in terms of, we'll get to the weight loss part, but number of pounds you've shed? Because when people saw you on the, not even on the sidelines, coaching at a Virginia Wesleyan team camp, or check that, officiating at a Virginia Wesleyan team camp, they're like, that's not the same guy, is it? Is that his brother?
Yeah, the high water mark was 125 pounds.
Wow.
And yes, the officiating was in an effort to stay fit and also get another perspective. I love the game, and I loved meeting the officials in a different way than how I usually met them in competition. And you know what? They're a bunch of good people too. They really are.
So you have a little more empathy with them when they're getting yelled at by folks like yourself from the sidelines. That's a horrible call. Bob, John, whatever the referee's name is. So
yeah, we always, one of the things we did at Great Bridge, we wanted to know the names of the officials, so we wanted to personalize it. Mm-hmm. But finding out how to officiate, there is a craft, there's a way to do it properly. And if I had to reverse everything that I did, it probably would have been worth my while to listen a little bit more how the game is officiated, because I learned quite a bit. I knew some of it. I didn't know all of it. But yeah, it was really a good, fun 2 years, especially getting to meet some of those guys. Yeah.
Getting a chance to cover your teams over those 13, 15 years, however many years it was. And there was a lot of really, really great teams in the Southeastern District of those years. You think of Kings Fork, which won a state championship under Josh Wells' team, led by Jaquan Parker, Jamar Wirtz, Devontae Gardner, and Jay Copeland. Ed Young at Nance River had some great teams with Andre Jones, Nick Wright, and others. Deep Creek with Leroy Ricks had some star-studded squads. You think of Mike Scott, who played in the NBA and still does, Corey Law, Harlem Globetrotters. Just the list goes on and on. There were some highs and lows for you as a coach. It's easier probably to talk about the highs, but go into those as well as the lows for you, be it from the coaching side and then also personally, as it started to really wear and tear on you, I think, and deteriorate your own body in a lot of ways.
Well, I was a JV coach for quite a while, and I learned a lot of good things. Martin Oliver was the varsity coach, and then Chris Osmond followed him in completely different styles. Learned a lot from both of them. And my first initial years, those first 4 years, I had some pretty good teams. My first year, obviously won one of the Southeastern titles, and the following year we were very competitive. And those first years were, I really didn't have a problem with my health in that regards. I was young enough to do what I want when I wanted to do it. And the middle years started to wear on me a little bit. I felt some, and then I went, up and down with the weight and health. And then I had my nice run there in the middle towards the end of my career. And towards the end, Matt, it was when it started to wear on me. The schedule, I mean, losing does that to you. And I had, the great thing about my career at Great Bridge, I was at the top, I was in the middle, I was at the bottom. Right. So I knew all about those things. I did. So that was a great experience. But towards the end, my health was wavering. I just felt that I wasn't I wasn't getting the best out of the guys. They weren't getting the best of me, which really, really, in the end, what bothered me. I couldn't give my all because I was unhealthy. So when I decided to step back, I had a great assistant, Scott Bigby, who was with me through thick and thin. And I really wanted him to attain the job, and it ended up that he did get the job. But I felt very relieved that I could leave the program in his hands. And as you know, I think it's on the uptick again. But yeah, health was a major reason why I stepped back. My family brought that to my attention. So.
Yeah, it looks like Coach Bigby's got a sleeper squad in the Southeastern District with some juniors in Antoine Brown, Cameron Bullock, Jabari Hunt, and a sophomore, and Christian Brown leading the way. So watch out for them. They could be on the rise again. And I know you think the world of him in terms of his X's and O's and his abilities. But for you, Gary, when you hear the word pressure, what did that mean to you as a coach? Because there's different levels of that when you're on top or you're at the bottom. Mm-hmm. What did that mean to you now? And kind of what does it mean to you, or what did it mean to you then? And what does it mean to you now?
Pressure is all self-induced. I was never approached by administration or anything. Hey, you need to win. It was never that way at Great Bridge. I never felt that. The pressure is what you put on yourself and expectations on how to run a program, how to get your kids exposed. Those are all things along the way. And, you notice I didn't say win, win, win. That really wasn't my intention. My intention was to be successful, and being successful means getting kids looked at in college. And we had some really good kids exposed to that. That was a very, very satisfying to do in my position. But the pressure I felt towards the end of my coaching career, again, self-induced, and the pressure I felt from not being able to perform the duty and really just perform life in general was apparent. I mean, it was overwhelming. And that's where it came to a point where I had to make a decision. And my decision was, I'm going to get healthy. If I'm healthy, then I can help a lot more people. And that all came out ahead in January 2017, my last year coaching, when my daughter was getting married in June of 2017, and she asked, what every father wants to hear, but she kind of put it in a way that made me think. And she says, "Are you going to be able to walk me down the aisle in 6 months?" And obviously, I was taken back by that, and I decided to work on myself. And in that, I lost 70 pounds for a wedding. And when it rolled back around to the summer and the fall season, I talked to Coach Bigby, and I decided to make the move to step down because my health was much better. And I felt the pressure, as we say, was relieved. And I said, you know what? Let's do something different. Let's take another angle in your life and see what else is out there. And as you know, those coaches, you guys we're a group that gets overwhelmed and almost addicted to basketball year round. There is no off season. We all know that. If you take an off season, you just get further behind.
No question.
And I needed a different avenue, and the pressure was released, and boy, I felt much better. And then I proceeded to lose, I don't know, some more weight. And then, like I said, 125 by 16 months was fine. And I'm happy to say that I've sustained that weight loss with a mindset and some education. So.
That's remarkable. We'll dive into that here in a little bit. But when you hear your daughter ask you that question, will you be able to walk me down the aisle in 6 months? Did you ever, while you were coaching or at that point or any point, kind of say, I guess, get concerned about your own mortality? Like, am I going to be here? Did that ever cross your mind at all during the process of coaching, what you were about to go through at any point?
I had some, I don't know if you want to call them scares, but I had some warning signs.
Okay.
I think every coach does, and it's whether you're going to ignore them, press them down, or are you going to address them? And I had an athletic trainer who brought to my attention a couple times where I got dizzy on the sideline. I was an active coach a lot of times in my younger years. I was a pacer, walked back and forth, and I guess sometimes I was animated. But it came to a point, I guess the middle of my career, my blood pressure was being monitored, and I ended up on medication for that, and made me feel better. But again, knowing what I know now, it was all self-induced. It was how I was carrying myself and my health, and how really the behaviors that you have as coaches are off the charts. We stay out late, we eat late. I can't tell you how many times I came home from a game and looked at tape and decided to do something different the next day at practice. And this being a Tuesday, and you have to prep for the Wednesday practice, and same thing for a Friday night game. You have to do something Saturday morning to get to address what they did wrong. And then I was one of these people that loved to watch West Coast basketball on ESPN. Hey, what are they doing over here? And then I would take my tablet out and I would draw things up and see what they were doing. And then I try to, just constant, mind was going just always spinning, always trying to find some way to reach the kids or get better. So yeah, that was, just a recipe for, and then you times that by, I would say times that by 30 years and boom, you get what you get.
Yeah, you're constantly as a coach, I think, looking for that edge. And another word that kind of jumps out at me in both what you did previously and what you do now is, we mentioned the word pressure, but challenge. There's all different sets of challenges that come with levels of expectations or what it might be in front of you or about to be in front of you. And for you, Gary, what was the bigger challenge or harder for you? Was it stepping away from the game that you love and coaching it for 30 years in basketball? And you also coached football on an assistant side for the Wildcats. You can speak on that as well. Or was it harder once you got out of it? Now I'm embarking on this new journey, and there's a different set of expectations and things you have to live up to in reaching those goals. What was harder for you, the new part or leaving the old part?
Oh, without a doubt, the new part. The new part was something that's uncharted waters. My health, I'm a health and physical education teacher. I certainly didn't, I guess, do as I say, not as I do concept, but that was something I was familiar with. My whole life was geared in athletics. High school, I played basketball and football and ran a little track, played some baseball. Goodness gracious, I had a short stint at college football. But from there, when I had my teaching degree, and I still teaching, obviously, but that was my mindset was I'm going to become a coach, and I'm going to do what it takes to become a coach, and I'm not going to look up until I'm where I want to be. And then once you get the coaching position you want, you're like, I'm going to win some games. I'm going to get some kids in college. It's just the constant. You set the bar, you go get it. So after 30 some years of doing that was, stepping away was, whew, you take a breath, and then all of a sudden you're staring in the mirror and go, what am I going to do? And when I decided to, this new me looking in the mirror, being healthy, and the young lady that helped me, my health coach, Charlotte Montgomery's her name. She was my coach. So she does what every coach, a good coach does. She put some challenges in front of me, and me being oriented to that goals in my life, I reached for them. It was different. It was challenging. And the one thing I like about this, it's ever going, Matt. It's something that you have to continue to do. And if you don't, you go backwards. So sure. Yeah, definitely stepping away was easier.
Where did you play the short stint of college football at, for those that I'm sure are curious about?
I went to school at Edinburgh University. Okay. It's up in northwest corner of Pennsylvania, about 20 miles south of Lake Erie. Nice snow belt. Yeah, I played, was recruited there and played freshman year. Got hurt at camp.
What position?
I was a tight end.
Okay.
I played, and back then, now tight ends are stinking 6'4", 6'5". I mean, I was 6 foot, probably about 215 pounds. Back then, I remember anytime you got under 5 in the 40 was an accomplishment. I think my biggest time was, I think it was a 4.75 or 4.8. Boy, I was fast back then. Now it's just the linemen run faster than that. But yeah, I had a shoulder, little shoulder injury that was reoccurring. I hurt my shoulder in high school football my senior year. I actually hurt it doing basketball practice.
Oh, wow.
Me and this little train, I'll call him, hey, I'll give him a shout out. Richie Beltram ran me over in basketball practice. I was extended for a loose ball, and I told my kids, all the kids I coached, grab loose ball with 2 hands. Well, I had 2 hands on the ball, but it was just a collision and snapped my collarbone and came back, and then I separated my shoulder a couple times. It just wouldn't stay in place, Matt. It was, and now back then too, I'll show you my age. A lot of guys my age would relate to this. We used to block with our shoulders. How about that?
Yeah.
Now it's sticking your hands out there, but it was all shoulder driven, and this couldn't keep up with the rigors of college football. Great program, Division II program, PSAC West, until all this virus hit. And now they're like combining schools, so it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of you Pennsylvania natives down here coaching. I know my buddy Ed Young is one of those. But tight ends, you're absolutely right about them. They're massive human beings now. Look at Nathan Bowerboom, who just came from Great Bridge. Brian Bowerboom, the former Nebraska lineman's son. And there's a bunch of them now, 6'6", 240 plus, and they can run like a deer. But
yeah, crazy.
Going into kind of as you began that health and wellness journey with Charlotte Montgomery, you mentioned as your coach and so forth. There's obviously going to be some ups and downs like you experienced with coaching with your teams, where you're winning the Southeastern District, playing Hampton and Kickingham, beating Cat Barber and Rajay Bullock and those star-studded squads at Scope. And then there's some lows where you're going, 5-6 wins and don't have as much talent. And, obviously towards the end, some private schools, which didn't happen just to you, it happened to a lot of schools, would get some of your players and transfers and so forth.
Right.
For you,
Right.
Did you have any breaking points when you got into this, I'm going to lose weight and get fit and worry about my health, and that's going to be my primary focus in terms of me and getting myself, on a good path? Did you have some breaking points, and how did you cope with those moments?
Well, absolutely. There's points through this whole health and wellness journey where you slip and you do things, old habits they creep back in, and they still creep back in. As I'm helping a lot of clients, and I tell them it's an ongoing thing. And one of the things that I think a lot of people shortchange themselves on is what's between the ears, is the brain. And changing habits takes time. Mm-hmm. If you don't take the time to change your behavior, the weight comes back on. I had some points where I put maybe 5 pounds on back in a week. I'd slipped, and and again, the difference this time was I got back on the horse, and knowledge is power. And I applied the things that I was taught and I learned, and voila, how about that 5 pounds went right back off. So then you put that in your tool belt in the back of your mind, and you push forward. But and then COVID was another thing. Routine is big for coaches. Routine is big for weight loss. Routine is big for changing habits. You have to change those things. And when COVID hit, guess what? The routine was thrown off track. That's why America went sideways. And there's still a lot of people that are in that path of unhealthiness because the routine was altered. I had some COVID. I put my COVID-15 on, and it was simply because I didn't get up and go to work. let's face it, going to work and putting a computer on and facing the computer, you didn't have to, and I jumped into that lazy bone for a little bit. But again, I climbed back out of it and right back where I was. So, yeah.
Well, you're not as active, certainly, when you have to be at home, not moving around. I'm wearing a Fitbit, and we'll get into me kind of delving in this a little bit as well in a few moments. But Gary, the thing that also gets to me is so much of what you did and do now, it's relatable to all walks of life, whether it be coaches we're talking about, high school, pro, whatever level, college, whether we're talking about the parents of athletes, fans out there, even some athletes who will eventually maybe get into coaching or other walks of life. So much of what you do now is relatable to what you did prior and what you do at this moment. When you look back at your career, and for everybody that's in the coaching world at this moment, what's the biggest thing you would tell those that are either new at it or been in it a long time? Because I'm hearing you talk about habits and routine, and something that strikes me is the world's constantly changing with social media and the adaptation of different things evolving with technology. And kids, and people say, have kids changed and parents changed? I mean, I'm sure you see some things that have changed, but there are also still some things that are not the same. You have to adapt both personally and coaching wise to kind of stay up with the times, right?
Yes. And there's a difference, but the only thing that stays the same is really that there's going to be change. And if you don't change with the times, they'll pass you by, and then you're going to be, sticking there with the old school label. The one thing that I tried to do is stay up to date. And it's good that I had a son that was the same age a lot of my coaching career. And I asked him about everything from the music, tell me what they're saying, and all that was pressed in there. It was great, but the adjustments you make and the routines you make. And if I was a young coach starting out, one of the things that I would tell them, and there's a lot of coaches that do this, and I think lasting power, they're probably lasting this long because they are doing this. Mm-hmm. You have to take your health into consideration. You have to remove yourself from the game and give yourself some grace and give yourself some time to work on you. If you don't do that for your health, and that goes from what you're putting in your mouth and to movement, you're going to simply get swallowed up like I did. And I think there's many coaches, a lot of people are so judgmental about the coaches out there. Wow, look, they have no idea the process of what these young ladies and gentlemen go through to get their teams prepared, and to go through that process is physically exhausting. And if you don't have your health at the forefront, I would tell any young coach, if you're not nutritionally sound, it's going to get you. If you're eating things late at night, it's going to catch up to you. When you get the first time you get medication, take a step back. Yes, heredity plays part, but the lifestyle that you're leading, I would venture to guess that 90% of us coaches, the lifestyle that we're leading will contribute to our bad health. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about alcohol and or drugs or the combination of those things. I'm talking about eating the wrong things at the wrong time and doing that over and over and over again because your routine has not changed. It's just the old saying that always got to me was, we all have flown in that airplane, and they go over the routine of what you say, what you do in case of emergency, and the oxygen mask comes down. And they says the first thing you do is put the oxygen mask on yourself so you can help somebody else. Right. So I would definitely tell coaches starting out, or coaches still in it, help yourself first, get healthy. That way you're able to do your job better and help others. Because if we're in the giving, that's what we do. We give and give and give. And a lot of times we don't feel like we receive things back, which we don't. So big deal, you push on. But if you're not giving yourself time, do that first. And I think everything else falls in line. I've learned it.
Sure. Well, good advice there. As we get to my next question for you, I want to share the screen here for those to see. Gary Obenour, the before and after shots here, and you can chime in on these, Gary. This is you. Is this at the Hershey factory here, I think? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I see. That was me, 2017, January. I think it was my son had purchased a pullover from Virginia Wesleyan University for me.
Where you
That
play
was a
baseball,
double X.
correct?
Yeah, he was a baseball player.
Okay.
That was a double X. And then, so I put that on. I started my journey. That was my before picture. It's one of the things we do to start our journey. And the after picture was me, I think 16 months later. I was right around between 200 and 210 pounds. On the left, I was 330. On the right, yeah. We were at the playoffs. My son's baseball team made the NCAA playoffs. It was a regional game up near Hershey. So my wife and I went to the Hershey amusement park.
Nice.
And we
I've
just
been there
went into
one
the
time
store.
back in like 2002 or so, somewhere around then. Yeah.
Yeah. But you want to talk about a wow. And I was at my strongest point of I don't have to have any of this.
Yeah.
But there were so many temptations there. Thousands of people wandering in and out, and I decided to put enough of those chocolate bottles to equal about 125 pounds and take a picture. I thought it'd be good. I have another picture of
right
the
there.
sugar.
There's another one. Yeah, at the beach.
Yeah,
It looks like a different person again.
Yeah, to the left, that was obviously Great Bridge Wildcat. I think that was somewhere. It was on a spring break.
It looks like the old late 90s, early 2000s. That looks like the old logo there. So
yeah,
at least the shirt.
We were. Yeah, that was all of me in my glory, and then this is probably another 2019 picture, I believe, on down by the. I think that was a Myrtle Beach trip. So yeah, that was a good times. Yeah, big difference there, I'd say.
I'll be making that trip here with the ODU women's basketball, actually with the ODU men's basketball team before I make a trip with the ODU women's basketball team to Texas. But Gary, you mentioned, and speaking of vices and people that don't know, I've been on this health and wellness journey with Gary as my coach, and I'm proud to say I've lost upwards of 75 pounds since I started in December of 2020 during the pandemic, right before Christmas. And I was able to change a lot of my habits and my vice, sort of like you did. We mentioned at the Hershey factory sodas. I've had maybe 2 in the last, I don't know, maybe 3 in the last 12 to 14 months, if that. And it tastes completely different for me, which was a big thing as I've increased my health and wellness. But for you and for all of us that are in this journey or about to embark on this journey or have been on some type of path to, recovery, if you will, and whatever it might be, health and wellness and weight is certainly at the forefront of what our discussion is at this moment. But there's always a why, there's always a purpose, there's always a motivation. And you mentioned you got to do what's best for you, but there's always in coaches' philosophies, I've gotten this even back on some preseason survey forms, we over me, and you're doing things for others. You hear about it, regardless of what people believe in with masks and vaccines, but it's for others. You want to also keep others safe. And you're in coaching, you're trying to help others, impact other people's lives. And for you, I hear about your son and Austin and your daughter who wanted you to be able to walk her down the aisle, and your wife, who I know you love so very dearly, and she's meant so much to you. Those people, as you look back on it now, and as you continue to move forward here, that's got to be the really special part for you, that you accomplish this, not just for yourself, but for those others, because you mean so much to them.
Yes. Everyone has a why. And that's one of the things I ask my clients and people that are interested in getting healthy. We talk to them, probably 20, 30 minutes. Tell me why you want to do this. You have to have that ingrained somewhere in you. So when that comes up, you go back to your why. And my why was a family that my daughter started the intervention, and my son supported it. My wife supported it. and then some extended family, and then my community of coaches that I'm working with now, were all there in your corner. I mean, it was overwhelming. And every time you stumble, they're there to pick you up. And that's a lot of a lot of pride gets in the way of this. A lot of pride. You don't want to ask for help. And really, if you do, and once you get it, you're like, man, why didn't I ask before? So there's a lot of things that go through your mind as you go through the process. But the support that we have in our particular program is off the charts. A lot of people, and this is one of the things that bothers me the most. When you help people, there's that sense of it's a warm feeling inside to help someone achieve what they want. And then I look at the overall picture of our country right now, and 70% of us are overweight or obese. 70%, and the numbers rising, and all these things the media is throwing at us, and not one of them addresses that subject. That a lot of these things that we suffer from, we can be cleared up if you get your health back. And some people that realize that, I'm trying, as I said, I try to get as many people healthy as possible so they can see the other side. You don't have to live with that on your mind. Clear your mind and clear your body, and it starts with that.
Mm-hmm. As we get ready to wrap things up, and it's been great chatting with you here. One of the things that I get asked to ask coaches that have given up the business, be football, basketball, baseball, is, and I've asked you this, I'm sure, a couple times already, but for the public and the audience to hear, how much do you miss it? Do you miss coaching? Because you're coaching in a different way now. You're coaching people like myself and others, but how much do you miss the element of coaching basketball? What do you miss? What do you not miss?
Well, one of the things that I love practice.
Mm-hmm.
I love getting inside, a guy's head that was doing something wrong. And when they finally get it, and that light bulb goes off, and then for them to apply it in a game situation, and then to come by and smile and heck, give us a hug, and we just, it's great to see that. I miss that. The games obviously were always fun. The games were for the guys, mm-hmm. and the gals. The practices for the coaches to teach, learn about their kids, learn about how they can help them. I miss that, but in that, saying that, I'm still teaching. Mm-hmm. So I do have some contact with some young people that still, the light bulbs still go off, and you still feel the same way. But applying, getting people healthy, Matt, has just opened up a whole new world for me. And I know some coaches that I've talked to, and they're just, and everyone you talk to, there's always skepticism. The one I always got was, did you have the surgery? No, I didn't have the surgery. I went through this process, and I came out the other side. And that's what you'd like for someone to go through. I always, as I told you, Matt, for everyone's audience, Matt was, I talked to Matt 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And he was an overachiever in that he decided to jump on this during the holidays.
Yeah.
So that was a big feather in his cap to go through the holidays. And I think that was probably pushed him into where he's at now. But
and the big reason was, I hear all the time about New Year's resolution, and given the pandemic and where we were, and I even had a couple buddies that served as my niece, who's 5, bless her heart, I'll give her a shout out, Noelle. She's in elementary school. She was kind of my why, because I told you the story. She jumped off the bed here, WWE style turnbuckle, and about knocked me out. And I literally felt like my breathing at my age, this isn't good. And then I had some motivation, and a lot of my motivation was the you always hear players more than coaches, the doubters, the haters, the naysayers. I had some
Yeah.
friends in the sports community or fraternity that served as my motivation, saying, "Oh, you can't do this." So it was almost the proving them wrong, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of things in life you feel like I just can't accomplish that. But I knew, like, I'm going to be sitting home watching games virtually on the computer on the NFHS network. I'm not going out to restaurants to eat the fatty foods and drink the sodas, the sugary stuff. I can do this. And it wasn't even a lot of exercise applied to what we've done in this plan with you, Gary, although I've added that element on my own because I want to stay fit and move and be active. So I think
Right.
that's also, it hasn't hurt the process. It's maybe accelerated to a degree, but it's not a requirement or necessary. But yeah, the bottom line is there's always that, what's that push for you. And that's what it was
Hmm.
for me. And there's a lot of coaches that are, and that kind of brings me to the next thing, not to cut you off, but um, your advice for people out there. They could be in the coaching profession. It could be just someone going through some personal struggles, because you are still very much involved in coaching, just in a different way now. What would be your advice to someone who's kind of searching or seeking for something?
Well, one of the things that everyone needs, especially at this time, is a community type feel. They want to be part of something. A lot of people are searching for something to get attached to. Um, I think both of us were attached to our whys. We wanted to get healthy for our loved ones. And I'm telling you, the coaching piece of this is just a small part. The community and the education piece to our program it's second to none. You have to educate yourself. You have to change your mindset and everyone is capable. As I told and you can tell every coach, basketball coach, tell me if you've heard this one before. Everyone can play defense. Okay, everyone can get down in a defensive stance, get their hands out, cut off passing lanes. Those things you're capable. It's whether you want to.
Even though we don't see a
And
lot of NBA defense every night in the pro leagues. I
right,
mean, again, in playoffs, they kind of ramp it up a little bit, but
yeah. How about that? But the majority of us aren't 6'8" and can jump out of the gym.
there you go.
So it's the want to every and the great thing I love about the program that I'm helping people with, everyone's capable. It's a mindset. So the education, the community, and the things that we sell them nutritionally, Matt, as you know, they're top of the line. There's nothing better than the nutrition that we have in our. It's perfect. And if you can grasp the education and community, and let your coach do some work with you, you can lose 75 pounds. Isn't that right, Matt?
In less than 12 months. You're right. We're going on almost the 11th month. And the funny thing to me, Gary, and I actually, you talk about when you're watching a West Coast game, the wheels turning. And for me,
Yeah.
it's constantly, because I'll ask you different questions when we have our weekly chat or whatever. And I was at a football game about 3-4 weeks ago, and a coach brought up to me that another coach asked him, "Hey, is Hatfield sick? Is something wrong with him?" He's like, no, he's on a weight loss thing. But then it got to, my brain thinking, yeah, I was sick in a different way. I wasn't healthy mentally as well as physically. And I'm on that path to getting there. And it's just like we hear all the time with the team, if you're 21-1 or you're playing for a region championship, you've done it. Well, there's always ways to get better, even as we're, on this journey. You see those pictures, but the job's not done yet, because there's so many others you can impact as well as continue to gain and progress yourself.
Yes, and the way we love to do that is by is getting people to join, obviously, right? But to have someone become a coach and be coached to be a better coach, and I've gone through that process too. It was new. I was imperfect. I wasn't great at it at the beginning, but as I progressed, I've helped a lot of people, and in turn, some of those people I've helped have actually become great coaches, health coaches. And again, that's that feeling of accomplishment you get when you coach, seeing people's lives change, not only physically, emotionally, the community, but financially. They've changed. there's great opportunities to help people. And as I tell people, if you don't like making all that money, then charities are out there. We need to give to charities.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I have a lot of places that we can give money to. So there's always that avenue to take too.
Well, it's been a real treat talking with you, and thank you so much for doing this. I'll get you out on this. If someone is looking to connect with you, Gary, be it getting on a weight loss journey, be it on some type of challenge in their life, be it maybe in the coaching realm of things, how can they get in touch with you and connect?
I am big on Facebook.
Okay.
So simply type my name, Gary Obenour, in Facebook search.
Now, for those that don't have
please.
Facebook, is there an email address as well, or somehow they can get a hold of you? Or
Absolutely. Coach Obenour at gmail.com.
Okay.
I'm available, Gmail's everywhere, and
Sure.
I'd love to help you.
There you go, folks. Just reach out to them via email, Gmail, or Facebook, and you can get in touch with Gary Obenour, the former championship-winning coach at Great Bridge High School, who's making champions in all walks of life now out there with what he's doing with this health and wellness journey. Thank you so much. Go enjoy as we record this on a football Sunday, you'll root on your Steelers, I'm sure. They are playing today, right? Or are they off today? I have no idea.
Steelers are on a bye, as well as my Cowboys.
You can root on my Cardinals against the Texans today.
I don't think that's going to be much of a game, is it, man?
I hope it's not, because if it is, we've got issues. But hey, we'll accept being the only undefeated NFL team for now. Just got to keep Kyler Murray healthy. But you said you'll root on the Cowboys. Is that your secondary team, or?
Well, actually, it's a long story, Matt. We probably could do another show on this. How Gary Obenour was raised, how he was raised in Pittsburgh and became a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Oh man,
how about that one?
That would be good. And there's a lot of Cowboys fans and haters out there. Both they're both one side or the other. Not really a lot of people in the middle. So, well, hey, keep on keeping on, as they say. And real pleasure talking with you. And I'm sure we'll do this again sometime.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you.
You bet. You got it.